Have you ever caught yourself thinking that no matter how hard you work, money always seems to slip through your fingers? Maybe you've promised yourself that this month would be different, only to find yourself facing the same worries again. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many people spend years trying to change their financial situation by changing what they do, while quietly carrying the same thoughts and emotional reactions that have guided their decisions for a long time. But what if the relationship you have with money isn't fixed? What if it has been shaped over time? And what if it can gradually change through small, consistent actions? Think about it. Every relationship in your life is influenced by repeated experiences. The way you trust someone, the way you respond to certain situations, even the way you expect conversations to unfold often comes from patterns that developed over months or years. Your relationship with money may not be so different. It isn't only about numbers in a bank account. It can also be about memories, emotions, expectations, habits, and the stories you tell yourself without even noticing. Maybe you've noticed that two people earning similar incomes can experience money in completely different ways. One feels calm and hopeful, while the other constantly feels pressure and fear. The difference isn't always the amount they earn. Sometimes it's the way their mind interprets every financial experience. Most people don't realize how quickly the brain creates automatic responses. When something happens repeatedly, the mind looks for efficiency. Instead of evaluating every situation from the beginning, it starts using familiar shortcuts. This process helps us save mental energy, but it also means that emotional habits can become deeply familiar. If every unexpected expense immediately creates panic, that reaction may begin to happen almost automatically. That doesn't mean you're stuck with it forever. The brain has an incredible ability to adapt throughout life. Many researchers describe this ability as neuroplasticity, meaning the brain can continue forming and strengthening new pathways through repeated experiences. While changing long-standing habits often takes patience, many people find that small, intentional actions practiced consistently can gradually influence how they think, feel, and respond. This idea also appears in many conversations about manifestation and the law of attraction. Some believe that the energy behind their thoughts influences the opportunities they notice and the actions they feel inspired to take. Others simply see these practices as a way to become more focused, more intentional, and more aware of their own behavior. Whatever perspective resonates with you, there's one point many people seem to agree on. The thoughts you repeat often become easier to think tomorrow. Imagine waking up every morning expecting another difficult financial day. Before anything even happens, your attention begins searching for proof that your expectation is correct. You notice bills, you notice problems, you notice what seems impossible. Now imagine someone else beginning the day with a quieter mind. They don't pretend every problem has disappeared. They simply leave room for possibilities alongside the challenges. Their attention may start recognizing opportunities they would have ignored before. A conversation, a new idea, a skill they forgot they had, a chance to improve something little by little. Attention works like a spotlight. Wherever you point it consistently, that area becomes brighter in your experience. This doesn't guarantee financial success overnight. Life is much more complex than that. But your attention influences what you notice, and what you notice often influences your decisions. Have you ever bought something without planning to, simply because it caught your attention? Or delayed taking an opportunity because fear captured your focus first? These small moments happen every day, often without much conscious thought. That's where your relationship with money quietly reveals itself. Some people learned early that money meant freedom. Others learned it meant stress. Some associated wealth with guilt. Others connected it with security. These emotional associations may stay in the background for years, quietly influencing everyday choices. The interesting part is that many of these patterns operate below conscious awareness. Think about how often you drive a familiar route without remembering every turn. Habits allow the brain to automate actions. Emotional habits work in surprisingly similar ways. If your subconscious has repeatedly connected money with worry, your body may react before your logical mind even joins the conversation. Your shoulders become tense. Your breathing changes. Your thoughts speed up. Without realizing it, You're responding to an old emotional script. What if that script could slowly change? Not through force. Not by pretending everything is perfect, but by introducing new experiences that your brain can gradually recognize as normal. Many people describe this as reprogramming. The word sounds dramatic, but in daily life it often looks surprisingly ordinary. It may mean pausing before reacting. It may mean questioning an automatic thought. It may mean choosing curiosity instead of fear for just a few moments. Those moments seem small, yet habits are built from moments. Day after day, little by little. Think about someone learning to play the piano. No single practice session creates mastery, but every repetition strengthens familiarity. Eventually, movements that once felt awkward begin to feel natural. Your thinking patterns can develop in a similar way. One small change repeated consistently often becomes easier than one huge effort that lasts only a day. This is why awareness matters so much. You can't change a pattern you never notice. Maybe you've noticed that certain financial situations always trigger the same emotional response. Maybe receiving a bill instantly creates anxiety. Maybe discussing salaries makes you uncomfortable. Maybe seeing someone else's success causes quiet frustration instead of inspiration. These reactions don't define who you are. They're information. They show you where attention has been trained over time. And once you begin noticing them, something interesting happens. You create a small space between the event and your response. That space may only last a second, but inside that second, choice begins to appear. Instead of reacting automatically, you become capable of responding intentionally. Self-regulation grows this way, not by eliminating emotion, by learning to observe emotion before it takes control. Some people who practice manifestation describe this pause as creating room for a different emotional frequency. Others simply describe it as becoming more mindful. Whatever language you prefer, the experience often feels similar. You stop living entirely on autopilot. You begin participating in your own decisions with greater awareness. What happens next? This is where many people become discouraged. They expect immediate emotional change, but lasting habits rarely work that way. Think about physical exercise. After one workout, your body doesn't suddenly become stronger, yet something has started. The same may be true for mental habits. Every time you interrupt an old pattern, you're practicing something new. Every time you choose a calmer response, you're giving your brain another experience to remember. That doesn't erase years of conditioning overnight, but repetition has remarkable influence. Little by little, familiar reactions may begin feeling less automatic. Few people notice this because the changes are often subtle before they become obvious. Perhaps you recover from financial stress a little faster. Perhaps you hesitate before making an impulsive purchase. Perhaps you feel less intimidated discussing money. These are quiet victories. They deserve attention because they reinforce new patterns. Your brain learns not only from failure, but also from what you repeatedly acknowledge. Many people spend far more time noticing mistakes than recognizing progress. Imagine how that shapes your expectations. If every improvement goes unnoticed, your mind may continue believing nothing is changing. What if you gave equal attention to even the smallest signs of growth? That simple shift may encourage the brain to keep repeating helpful behaviors. There's another reason this matters. Your emotions influence your decisions more often than you might realize. Research in psychology has shown that people frequently make choices emotionally before explaining them logically afterward. If fear dominates your financial thinking, your decisions may quietly reflect that fear. If calm becomes more familiar, your choices may gradually become more thoughtful. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming less controlled by automatic emotional reactions. And that's a very different goal. Money itself doesn't think. People do, and the quality of those thoughts often shapes the actions that follow. Maybe that's why so many people discover that changing their financial life begins with changing the conversations happening inside their own mind. Maybe you've heard people say they started seeing opportunities everywhere after changing their mindset. Some believe this reflects the law of attraction at work. Others think it happens because the brain becomes more attentive to possibilities that were always present. Whatever explanation feels right to you, there is something worth considering. When your attention changes, your experience of the world often changes with it. Imagine walking into a crowded room where hundreds of conversations are happening. If someone across the room says your name, your attention immediately shifts. Your brain filters an enormous amount of information every second, deciding what deserves your focus. The same thing can happen with financial opportunities. If your mind has been trained to expect only obstacles, it may overlook ideas, connections, or possibilities that don't fit that expectation. What if instead, you slowly trained your attention to recognize both challenges and opportunities, not by ignoring reality, but by allowing yourself to notice more than one side of it? This is where consistency becomes more important than intensity. Many people wait for a dramatic breakthrough before believing they are changing, but lasting habits are usually built in quieter moments. A thoughtful decision instead of an impulsive one. A calm breath before reacting. A moment of gratitude before focusing on what is missing. These moments may seem too small to matter, yet they accumulate, day after day, little by little. Think about how a river shapes stone. No single drop creates the change. It is the repeated flow over time that slowly transforms something that once appeared solid and unchangeable. Our habits often develop in much the same way. If you've spent years repeating thoughts like, "I'll never have enough," your mind may have become very efficient at finding evidence to support that belief. Not because it is objectively true, but because familiar thoughts are easier for the brain to revisit. The encouraging part is that new thoughts can also become familiar. Not because you force yourself to believe something unrealistic, but because you repeatedly give your attention to perspectives that are balanced, constructive, and emotionally steady. Some people find that simple affirmations help them pause and redirect their attention. Others prefer journaling, quiet reflection, meditation, or visualization. Many people report that these practices help them become more aware of their emotional patterns, even if they don't expect immediate external results. The important part isn't finding the perfect technique. It's practicing one simple habit long enough for it to become familiar. One small change repeated consistently often has a greater influence than many changes practiced only once. Think about your daily routine. You probably brush your teeth without debating whether to do it. You don't negotiate with yourself every morning. The habit has become automatic. Now imagine creating that same sense of familiarity around healthier financial thinking. Not perfect thinking, just calmer thinking, more intentional thinking. Thinking that leaves room for possibilities instead of immediately expecting disappointment. This doesn't mean difficult days disappear. Unexpected expenses may still happen. Plans may still change. Life will still surprise you, but your response to those moments can slowly become different. Instead of immediately assuming the worst, you may begin asking yourself a different question. What is the next helpful step? That single question shifts attention from helplessness toward action. It encourages your mind to search for options instead of remaining trapped in worry. Over time, many people notice that this simple shift changes not only how they feel but also how they make decisions. And decisions, repeated consistently, often shape long-term results. There is also something interesting about gratitude. Sometimes gratitude is misunderstood as pretending everything is wonderful. That isn't its purpose. Genuine gratitude simply widens your field of attention. When you intentionally recognize what is already working, your mind becomes less consumed by what is missing. That balanced perspective can make thoughtful decision-making easier. Many people who practice manifestation describe gratitude as helping them feel more connected to abundance. Others simply experience it as a healthy mental habit that reduces stress and increases awareness. Either way, it encourages your attention to become more flexible. Instead of seeing only lack, you begin noticing resources, skills, relationships, and opportunities that were already part of your life. This changes something important. Hope begins to feel more practical, not because everything has changed around you, because something has started changing within you, and inner changes often influence outer actions. Have you ever noticed that when you feel confident, you communicate differently? You stand differently. You speak differently. You notice different possibilities. Confidence doesn't guarantee success, but it often changes the way you approach challenges. Your relationship with money can evolve in a similar way. The goal isn't to convince yourself that wealth is guaranteed. The goal is to build a healthier relationship with uncertainty, opportunity, patience, and consistent action. That relationship grows one decision at a time, one observation at a time, one intentional pause at a time. What if this week wasn't about trying to become a completely different person? What if it was simply about becoming slightly more aware than yesterday? That kind of progress is sustainable. It doesn't demand perfection. It only asks for consistency. Tonight, before you go to sleep, I'd like to invite you to try something simple. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted for just a few minutes. Take a slow, comfortable breath. Then ask yourself one gentle question. What thought about money showed up most often for me today? Don't judge the answer. Don't try to replace it. Don't argue with it. Simply notice it. If it helps, write that thought in a notebook exactly as it appeared. Then, underneath it, write one more sentence. Is this thought helping me move toward the financial life I want? Again, don't force an answer. Just let yourself become curious. This exercise isn't about changing your beliefs overnight. It's about strengthening awareness. Tomorrow, notice whether that same thought appears again. If it does, simply recognize it. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to criticize yourself. Just noticing it is already different from living inside it without awareness. Many people are surprised by how often the same financial thoughts repeat throughout the day. And once those patterns become visible, it often becomes easier to respond with greater intention instead of pure habit. This small practice only takes a few minutes. Yet, repeated day after day, it may help you understand your relationship with money more clearly. And understanding is often the first step toward lasting change. Remember, your financial journey isn't built by one dramatic moment. It's built through hundreds of ordinary moments that gradually point in a new direction. Each thoughtful decision, each calm response, each new perspective, each day you choose awareness over autopilot. Little by little, those moments become part of who you are. If you enjoyed today's conversation and want to continue building a healthier relationship with money one day at a time, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss tomorrow's practice. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What is one thought about money that you noticed most often today? Your experience might encourage someone else who is beginning this same journey. Be sure to check the description for additional resources related to today's topic and take a look at the pinned comment, where you'll find another step that can support your daily practice. Remember, meaningful change rarely comes from one extraordinary action. It usually grows from small choices repeated consistently. So come back tomorrow, continue the journey with us, and let's keep building this habit together, one day at a time.